Well, the media wants to divide us, and one of the main reasons is because when we are divided, they are better off. They are whiny, petulant, malcontented divas, and that is never more apparent than the fit that NBC pitched when the anchors were asked to work with somebody that they did not agree with. So here's the story. NBC News hired former head of the Republican National Committee, Ronna McDaniel, to be a talking head on the network. NBC, you probably know this, is an illiberal extension of the Biden administration, and McDaniels is obviously a Republican. So the network executives probably thought that she could bring a balanced viewpoint to their airwaves, but then all major marquee NBC talent pitched an absolute tissy fit because they do not want balance at all.
Did you say tissy fit?
Hissy fit. Sorry. Okay. They had a hissy fit.
I don't know if this was a new version of a hissy fit.
No. Sorry. That's not a thing. But it sounds like a thing. It's an onomatopoeia.
If it changed genders or something, I didn't know.
You're up in a tiss?
Yeah. Tissy. Hissy. Tissy.
Have a tiff.
Okay. Tissy. Anyway, they flipped out.
They lost their shit.
Yeah.
Is basically what I'm saying. So here's a list of those who could not even think of working with someone they don't agree with. Mika Brzezinski, Joe Scarborough, Rachel Maddow, Chuck Todd, Joy Reid, Nicole Wallace, and Lawrence O'Donnell. Here is Rachel Maddow thinking she's being so brave by speaking out about Ronna McDaniel on the network because Ronna McDaniel, she says, enabled Trump to get farther than he otherwise would have, which shows she has a lack of understanding of why people vote, and she does not even care. She thinks without Ronna McDaniel, Trump couldn't have made it this far. And she's taken that to the bank. This is 2 minutes. I apologize because she's obnoxious, but I do want to hear from people I don't agree with. And so we're going to listen to what she has to say, even though we don't want to.
A free and uncowed press is part of our system of government. We stand up for ourselves as a way of standing up for our country and for our Constitution, the First Amendment to which makes it possible for us to exist at all. And so I want to associate myself with all my colleagues, both at MSNBC and at NBC News, who have voiced loud and principled objections to our company putting on the payroll someone who hasn't just attacked us as journalists, but someone who is part of an ongoing project to get rid of our system of government. Someone who still is trying to convince Americans that this election stuff, it doesn't really work, that this last election, it wasn't a real result, that American elections are fraudulent. Because that argument, that is a necessary part, that is the most necessary part of the overall project of getting us as Americans to give up on this election stuff. Because wouldn't we rather have a real man in charge anyway, somebody who could really get some stuff done, if only we could clear away all the things in his way. We have a long history in this country of forgettable men telling us that we need a new system of government where everything's under their control and politics is over and this new strongman way of government is gonna make America great again. We have had a lot of these guys. But our generation's version of this guy has gotten a lot farther than all the rest of them. And why is that? He would have been as forgotten as all the rest of them had he not been able to attach himself to an institution like the Republican Party, and had the leader of that party in his time not decided that she wouldn't just abide him, she would help. She would help with the worst of it.
Okay.
She's so melodramatic.
Yes. She really feels this, and she slid right into the superior attitude, which is so funny because, Rachel Maddow, girl, I watched you for the whole of the Trump administration, and you told me that that election was evidence that elections don't work. You told me that those elections were interfered with and that that was an illegitimate election that could possibly be overturned. So how come you can say it and Ronna McDaniel cannot? So you're telling me this is just about democracy, right? Her logic is flawed here because she's saying a free press is essential to democracy, but this lady, Ronna McDaniel, is not free to say what she wants. on her airwaves, on her press. Can anyone follow that logic? It's a very bad faith argument.
Well, and she also, of course, is the same person who is talking about the first, freedom of speech and how we're stewards of that. And she's the person who cuts away from a Trump speech on a regular basis to tell us that she's protecting us from speech.
Right. Yeah. Free press, but only the way I curate it.
Right.
Now, she can't even talk to Ronna McDaniel, doesn't even want to share the air with her, because maybe she would learn something. Maybe she could ask a relevant question. She can't come down from her high tower and see why Trump might appeal to some people. Whether I've never listened to Ronna McDaniel. I sort of see her peripherally, but it doesn't influence how I feel. Maybe, though, by talking to her, you might be able to say, okay, what is it you see here? And if she is actually talking about these elections and saying there are problematic things that happened in these elections, maybe NBC would want to investigate that, ask some questions, right? And say, okay, I don't think, and even if they did, even if they said, okay, what is your whole shtick about the elections? Can you explain it to me? And she said crazy things. They could at least interact with that, right? But they cannot even interact with it. Now, here she is now because she says she can't talk to this lady, so we sent her packing, and here she is gloating about it.
MSNBC's leadership did not object to Ronna McDaniel being hired by NBC News when the matter first arose. But when the hiring was announced, and MSNBC staff essentially unanimously and instantly expressed outrage, our leadership at MSNBC heard us, understood, and adjusted course. We were told this weekend in clear terms, Ronna McDaniel will not be on our air. Ronna McDaniel will not be on MSNBC. And I say that and give you that level of detail because there has been an effort since by other parts of the company to muddy that up in the press and make it seem like that's not what happened at MSNBC. I can assure you that is what happened at MSNBC. Ronna McDaniel will not appear on MSNBC. So says our boss since Saturday, and it has never been anything other than clear. And I will also say, if you care what I think about this, I will tell you the fact that Ms. McDaniel is on the payroll at NBC News, to me, that is inexplicable. I mean, you wouldn't hire a wise guy. You wouldn't hire a made man like a mobster to work at a DA's office, right? You wouldn't hire a pickpocket to work as a TSA screener. And so I find the decision to put her on the payroll inexplicable. And I hope they will reverse their decision. And it's not about, Democratic Party, Republican Party. It's not about partisanship. It's not about right versus left. It's not about being a political professional versus some other kinds of person. It's not about being mean or nice to journalists. It's not about just being associated with Donald Trump and his time in the Republican Party. It's not even about lying or not lying. It's about our system of government and undermining elections and going after democracy.
She's a liar. She did that during the 2016 elections.
Yes, she did.
She's lying. She's saying we can't have somebody who beat a drum about democracy not working. I did that from 2016 to 2020, but we can't have anybody else doing it.
Russiagate. Russia, and every night on her show, Russia, with her neck, Russia. And so she's gloating that MSNBC would never have this person on her air, right? We're not going to have her on our air, but I can't believe that the balls of NBC would keep her on the payroll over there. And she's basically saying right out loud that to me, this is like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
This is exactly what I'm getting at, is you now, I don't know if this would qualify as tort. You've interfered with someone else's business on purpose. Why would you do that?
Right. Was it tortious interference? Like she presumably had Ronna McDaniel's.
It doesn't matter if you're incorporated or not. What it matters that you have interfered with somebody else's money-making opportunity, right? You've taken somebody else's business and tanked it for for nefarious reasons.
And just at the heart of it, though, what's so problematic about having someone on your air that you might disagree with?
Because I want to get to that.
It's an echo chamber at MSNBC. First of all, no one's watching MSNBC anyway, but it's an echo chamber where you just have a whole bunch of Biden sycophants. I mean, you have literally, what's her name? The former press secretary, Jen Psaki, Joe Scarborough, Miko Brzezinski. I mean, all of these like Washington insider people that are working there. So to have somebody who's on a conservative that might have a difference of opinion about that. But hold on. She also said, I couldn't imagine on our air having someone on our air that's like having a wise guy on our air to get, to have that person commenting about the DA or in the DA's office.
A mobster.
A mobster. Yeah, she's literally comparing him to a mob. You have people who on your air who are like former CIA. You have people on your air who are former members of the Pentagon that are now on your payroll, literally paying them. It's just like Operation Operation Mockingbird, like right out in the open, where you have these individuals on the payroll of MSNBC that there's no more hiding the deep state.
They have bomb makers, people who literally kill people with bombs, right? But we can't listen to this, that we don't like this speech. And you're right, they are the biggest hypocrites because they too have interfered with our democracy by, burying the Hunter Biden laptop story, surfacing the Stormy Daniels story while burying the Tara Reade story. Maddow sold us Russiagate like a used car salesman. They lied about COVID through their teeth, infection rates, masks, vaccines. January 6th, I could go on. They skew every narrative to fit their agenda, and they never apologize. But instead of reaching out to learn something from someone they don't like, who I don't know why she would want to be on NBC, maybe it was brave of her to do that, Ronna McDaniel, but instead they cancel her. And NBC responded saying, our anchors are right, and that we need a new, more cohesive and aligned newsroom. Here's the statement. After listening to the legitimate concerns of many of you, I have decided that Ronna McDaniel will not be an NBC News contributor. No organization, particularly a newsroom, can succeed unless it is cohesive and aligned. We don't need diversity of thought. We can't have that, is what they're admitting here blatantly. Over the last few days, it has become clear that this appointment undermines our goal to be cohesive and aligned. Now, I would say that actually it's good for a news organization to have diversity of thought, to not agree on everything, to push each other to think differently. They don't value that. They value an echo chamber. And do I care if McDaniels is ever on NBC? I don't. I don't watch NBC to inform my worldview. I don't care. But it reinforces this notion that you don't have to listen to conservatives, or vice versa, that conservatives shouldn't listen to liberals, and that if you don't like what someone says, you shouldn't even treat them as a person. Oh, and screw the golden rule. Right? Forget that. Don't treat people as you want to be treated. If they say something you don't like, let them burn. Crush their livelihood and their opportunities. Let them go stew in a corner and think about what they did was wrong. Now, this is something, these are the same people who say the cancel culture doesn't exist. And then they go and cancel somebody like this. I really like this from The Canceling of the American Mind, the new book from Greg Lukianoff and Ricky Schlott. They say this about, if you want to say, well, this is just accountability. Ronna McDaniel said things that, were not good. She doesn't deserve this network news spot. Here's what they say about the term accountability culture, as it assumes the conclusion is true by the very nature of the question or the statement. By using the term, one implicitly assumes that everyone who has been canceled has done something that warrants being accountable. We'd be shocked if you made it through this book, which is a book I do want to recommend that you read. It's fantastic. But we're judging people as if like the jury's out, they're bad, that's it. They point out that in his 2022 book, Free Speech, Jacob McChamba says there is a fundamental difference between reacting to ideas one loathes with scorn or criticism and demanding that specific viewpoints be purged and their authors and enablers punished with loss of livelihood or disciplinary sanctions, which is exactly what they're doing. Now, not only did they succeed in getting her contract revoked from NBC, they also got her kicked out of her talent agency So CAA, which is a talent agency that would get her jobs, has dropped her. Again, these people went after and interfered with her livelihood, her ability to make, they find her so odious, they don't think she should make $1. That's how they feel. They'd be happy for her to rot in hell. And that's mean, right? And so this just proves that free speech laws, which were once used by the powerless against the powerful, have been weaponized by the powerful. It is these wealthy East Coast media elites who are cheering for the erosion of free expression, and they won on this one. So they will be drunk over this power unless they are held accountable. I almost do hope that she seeks a lawyer for her right to practice politics in a way that other people don't like and make a career out of it. I think the rest of us, though, we should show our kids this is wrong. Even if someone says something you don't like, you should hope that they are treated with compassion and engaged with respect. Period. We should bring back the golden rule. That's one of the main points from the canceling of the American mind, is tell your kids, treat people how you'd want to be treated. So what if because I feel that Rachel Maddow lied to me for 4 years, what if I interfered with her contract, not that I had that power, and I made it my life's mission that she never work again, never earn another $1, and go rot in hell? Well, that is not a practicing of the golden rule. So we need to bring that back. And point to these NBC employees as examples of odious, malcontented divas who laugh at other people's opinions rather than respect them. Teach your kids and your family that this is wrong. Here's a recent example of that on Super Tuesday when all of these anchors made fun of their voters for caring about immigration.
I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the #1 issue.
Yes.
I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
Build the wall. Like, what?
Yeah, because all those West Virginia people are inhuman. So we want to keep them out of Virginia.
Right.
Wonder how our West Virginia viewers feel about that, you East Coast elites.
Yeah, you're not
when people cross the border, they're not. It's not like they cross the border and there's like a force field there that keeps them in Texas or in Arizona, and like they can travel.
Yeah,
we don't have border checks on every state.
And they're laughing. Immigration. Immigration is your top concern. Joy Reid laughing about it.
What you think? You're not as smart as us. We're above you. This I think was one of the worst clips that shows that they are the baddies. But let me know what you think of this. Not that I don't think anybody who would get through a segment like this would be like, but I like MSNBC.
No.
But, again, who's going to stop them from this bad attitude? Well, you, because you're not watching them. So, I mean, that's really all we can do is just turn them off and take away their power little by little. But me saying that.
Well, and
yeah.
I thought Trump only won because of Russia. I mean, that's what she said before.
She promised me that was the case.
Yeah. She promised. And that's
it was about
every day.
It was not then about democracy.
Yeah, all of her Hillary lovers, that's what she promised every day on the show. That was her whole shtick. And then, I was laughing when she would hold up the documents, the fake documents, and she got crapped on all of that. She just kept going, and they just kept putting her on the air.
Well,
and MSNBC just kept putting her on the air.
Why is she not talking about her team now working to get third parties off of all the ballots? Like, where's that story? Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter if she's going to talk about democracy.
No, you can't have a democracy with more than 2 parties. What are you talking about? That wouldn't be democracy. That would be anarchy.
That's a good point. That would be crazy.
Or a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
But we don't really have a constitution. We're, as Mark Levin said, we're like in a post-constitution era right now, which I think that's probably the case.
And I want to make it clear, I don't really care much about Ronna McDaniel. I want everybody to be engage across parties and across platforms in a respectable way. I don't want this to be this world we live in where you don't like someone's politics, so you cancel them and hope that they get hurt. That's what I care about.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.